Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Now, the topic for today's video is actually the first in a series of videos, a short series of videos, mind you, where I'm going to be reviewing and recapping my PlayStation experience. I'll tell you what, that sounded a heck of a lot better in my head. But I digress. PlayStation experience, y'all. I was there. I lived it. I breathed it. If you've seen from all my social media posts, I had a freaking blast at the show. It was so awesome hanging out with the developers, meeting all the PlayStation figures, of course, hanging out with some awesome subscribers. Y'all are the freaking best. But the more and more I thought about doing a recap video, the more I realized that one particular aspect of said video was going to be a doozy, to say the least, and I'd be rambling on about it, so might as well make it its own separate video. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss the PlayStation Experience Keynote, because yeah, it was a freaking doozy. Okay, now to catch y'all up to speed on why we feel the way we do about this year's Keynote, I have to explain to you guys PlayStation's presence in 2017 from a conference angle. Now, this year in particular, if you're looking back at all of the shows that have gone on, Sony has had a major presence at pretty much all of them. If they weren't doing an actual conference at a show, they had a strong presence on the show floor, and in some cases, they might have done some stealth announcements. So just looking back at some of the shows they had, first things first, their major show was, of course, E3 in June. Then after that, I believe they had a presence at Gamescom, nothing too crazy. Of course, Tokyo Game Show, the motherland of Japan. You knew Sony was going to be there. Paris Games Week, that was their, I believe they billed it as their second part of E3. So if you watched E3, you only saw half the story. I believe that's what they were running it as. And then they capped off the year with their annual tradition, PlayStation Experience. So that right there is kind of a warning sign. You have a major presence at 5 shows. Not even talking about a console manufacturer, but from a publisher angle, that is... that's pretty insane, to say the least. You would think that this company has so many games in the pipeline. They have so many cards that they're ready to throw out from their sleeves. But there was something that was always just rubbing me the wrong way, especially with their E3 show. Because if you guys saw their E3 show, you would realize that it was a solid conference, but it really wasn't anything new. Everything that they debuted at this year's E3 was pretty much stuff that we saw at last year's E3. It was for the most part a continuation of E3 2016. If you want to call it a friggin' director's cut, that's what it was. Because, yeah, E3 this year, it was pretty whelming, to say the least, to quote an awesome character from an even more awesome TV show. Comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, this year's E3, while it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, it was just like, where are the big surprises? Where are the bombshells? The biggest takeaways from the show, in my personal opinion, were the Shadow of the Colossus remake and Monster Hunter World. One of those being a multi-platform title and the other being a remake. So where are these freaking bombshells? You were probably thinking that, okay, they're saving these for late in the year, like PSX. They want to do their own thing and they want to save E3 where they know they're going to get like all the regular Joe Schmoes. Okay, fair enough. But here we are with PlayStation Experience, and yeah, all of our fears pretty much came to light because Sony had nothing to show. This was another continuation of their E3 show. That's basically it. What they did here with this keynote is essentially show you guys all the games that they showed off at E3 2016 and 2017, except now they brought up the developers on stage to talk about them. This is the weirdest thing because I was actually there in attendance. I was there with my fam, the council, and we were watching this, and as time went on throughout this 90-minute show, we were thinking to ourselves, is this a freaking keynote or is this a panel? Because it was just a lot of sit down and talking with all of the first-party studios about the games that they've made, like Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that's already out. The DLC is already out. And then they go into talking about games that we've already seen, but they didn't show us anything new. We didn't see any new gameplay. We didn't even get any new release dates, which was a major problem that I'm going to come back to later. And yeah, that was basically it. The conference was a lot of fluff. It's not bad if you're looking at it as a panel talking about the upcoming PlayStation games and giving you some insight in what made those games. Like, it was really interesting to hear stuff that we hadn't heard before, like with God of War. We learned that it was going to be 25 to 35 hours of gameplay, which is awesome. We finally got a better understanding and grasp of what the heck Dreams is, so that's cool. But again, it's just stuff that you really didn't need to have on stage. This is stuff that you could have done in like a freaking developer diary. This is stuff that, again, like I said, could have been a separate conference later on that people could attend if they're interested. But to say that this is your keynote, it's just, why? Why was this necessary? It wasn't necessary. I got nothing from this event. And again, this is coming from a guy who was actually there, who experienced it. I wasn't watching online and trying to be cynical like a lot of people. No, I was there for this. We lined up for this. This event was only available to the people who had the early bird tickets. So these are the guys who bought their tickets like the first run. And we sat in line, we were seated, and it was just nothing. Nothing. Now, of course, someone's going to come in here and say, that's not true. They announced a new medieval game, and they announced new VR titles. Okay, great, awesome. But I'm sorry, those are not quality announcements. Those are not things that you make a focal point of a conference. That's stuff that you put in a sizzle reel. I'm just being honest, you guys. Compare the bombshell announcements from E3 2016, heck, even PlayStation Experience 2016. Compare that stuff to what they showed here, and it's just no competition. Now, of course, I understand that PlayStation did say that they were scaling back this year's PSX because of their presence at Paris Games Week and E3, but looking back on all these shows, Paris Games Week was the only one that really had a lot of bombshell announcements. So I'm just thinking to myself, why couldn't they move a lot of the stuff from PSX here and put that in Paris Games Week and save some bombshells for PlayStation Experience? Like Ghost of Tsushima, if they were able to debut the trailer there and also provide some gameplay for the first time, that would have been freaking phenomenal. That would have been freaking hype. If they were to show off new gameplay for God of War, give us a release date, have it playable on the show floor, that would have been freaking amazing. But as it stands, we got nothing. No release date for God of War, no release date for Spider-Man, no concrete release date for any of the games coming out in 2018. Of course, we have windows like Q1, Q2, early, mid, but still, that's not enough when this is the final show of the year. When are they going to reveal the release dates for these games? Are they going to reveal them in just regular trailers they throw up on the PlayStation YouTube channel or on the PlayStation blog? So you're telling me you'd rather wait like 6 weeks out from the game coming to reveal the release date as opposed to an event where all eyes are going to be on you? Especially something so simple as a release date when all these games are pretty much in the final stages. So that right there was just, why did you have this? It was so unnecessary. It was basically pointless. It was pointless. Like, I walked out of that show and I got nothing from this. I was always hoping that there was going to be one big surprise, but nothing, man, nothing. So yeah, as it stands going forward, I understand that Sony wanted to make it more about the games coming in the future because, let's be honest, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, they've all gotten caught in the trap of announcing games years in advance and then having to delay them because they just don't foresee the development going the way they thought, which is understandable. I think that's why they're trying to keep some of the more unannounced titles closer to their sleeve as opposed to announcing a game and then having it be at E3 2016, E3 2017, and in some cases, some of these games might be at a third E3 in a row, which I think is just insane, but that's neither here nor there. Here's hoping going forward in 2018 that they do scale it up, or if they're not going to scale it up for one major event, at least they spread it out across all the events they're going to do. I honestly think they should scale it back to 2, maybe 3. I definitely like what they were doing with E3 and Paris Games Week being for some of the bigger titles, and then you can have PSX for some of the smaller stuff like VR, or in the case of Medieval, a game that really only appeals to the hardcore fans. I think that stuff is perfect for PSX as opposed to it being on stage at E3. Anyways, I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, from me for now, my name is NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.